Another Sunday, another case of the Scaries to start work week. Welcome to the newest edition of the Sunday Scaries, where we have all your gore, lore, and more, covering all the latest horror happenings, slicing open all the latest horror news, and dissecting it bit by bit, finding all those juicy innards. Pour yourself a nightcap and turn your fright light while we take you on a tour of terror. And yes, fellas, we are back after a break last week. Dylan, some home improvement, big old Tim Allen over here, taking care of his water heater business.
Very angry, Tim Allen, for 2 days. Yeah, very angry. God, that was a nightmare. And I'm glad I did it, though. I know how to do it now for next time. And I set it up just the way that I need it to be. So that way it won't be as big of a headache, hopefully, in the future. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, other than still cleaning up from that, yeah, this was definitely an unexpectedly and kind of not a very fun week, but a week nonetheless.
We made it through, didn't we, fellas?
We did.
Hopefully, we won't have to change the water heater, at least for your tenure, because they're supposed to last. So
yeah, no, this one. So the last one was put in 2006. So that it was like 19.
It was time.
Years.
It was due.
So yeah, it was one of those ones where it's like never really looked at that, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So, I'm working on it. Everything else is coming along. We had some water damage to the carpets and stuff in the other room next to me here. So, yeah, that was not great, but we're working through it. So, everything else is coming up. So I'm going to be a very busy bee this week, though, with videos because Luke graciously and smartly already had a video like basically almost done. I mean, you didn't have the best week either with a lot of personal stuff going on.
That is true. But I had at least the outline for things going down. So I was able to kind of just throw in some stuff and got that one out for Friday, which was fun. Cold opens. I think that one is doing fairly well. Thank you for all the support on that video as well. A lot of fun discussion going on there. And I don't know, maybe a part 2 here in the future. I had a couple on that list that did not make it, just missed out. So, and I know a lot of great suggestions in the comments as well. So I don't know, maybe we will revisit that one here in the next month, especially as we get into October.
100%. And yeah, while I was, between watching like YouTube videos and other things to try to fix this water heater this week, we did actually end up watching a good amount of screeners. So we've seen a bunch of new movies, some big ones, some small ones, and we are currently in the midst of shooting all those reviews. So those are going to be hopefully barreling out. I want to say probably be like Tuesday, Wednesday. You think that'd be like a safe bet? We'll start seeing the first couple trick out.
Absolutely. We have a couple in the chamber now. I know we're going to sit down tomorrow and record a few of those and then get those out to you. So it'll be a very busy week on the channel with some lists. I know Dylan has a couple, he said, and I'm working on my next one. And then just with a lot of the reviews from Fantastic Fest, screeners are still coming in. So I know right now we kind of have a lineup, but who knows how much we're going to bombard the channel with content just because last minute screeners sometimes do happen. So we'll have to see and wait for what the week holds. But I know it's going to be very busy.
Yeah, and definitely this week we'll be getting some fun stuff on the Patreon. Just again, basically everything just went back a week and I feel terrible about it, but had to do the thing, had to take care of the house and all that. So it is what it is. But I promise we're going to have a lot of fun stuff out there for you. Adrian, how you doing, my boy? Did you have a good week?
I did, man. It was just a busy but ordinary work week for me. Not a whole lot to talk about. I started getting back into music a little bit, so that's exciting for me personally, but yeah, pretty uneventful. Was definitely missing you guys Sunday, so glad to be back on with you guys here.
I know, and like I'm pretty sure you called me earlier this week, and like I was just in the pits of that job. Like I mean, I literally I didn't even like communicate with you, Luke, for like 2 days, didn't I? Yeah, basically like Saturday, I didn't call you till like Monday evening.
It was a minute, and I figured, I totally understood just because, hey, home improvement stuff, you get in the midst of it, especially when you're trying to figure something out. So it's like, yeah, totally understood. Yeah, but it was a couple days. We had a couple day layover there, just kind of sitting around waiting and working on stuff, which was no problem because I had a list to work on. So I did cry a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. But I missed the Sunday Scaries as always. All the beautiful people in the comments. So
I just felt bad because it was like I told you, I think maybe texted you that like I was hoping to have that done Sunday. So like it wasn't a thing where it was like I think we talked the day before, we said like maybe we'll delay it. But like, you know, it was one of those things where it was still like up in the air because I didn't think it was going to take 3 days. So
yeah, you know, that's always the fun journey there. So it was kind of a quick audible that we had to pull out. But hey, we got a decent amount of news this week. So a lot of interesting things going on. I know we put a rundown together, but there's a lot of just random things going on that might not have been necessarily full news story worthy, but just a lot of news floating around.
Yeah, I know. I had one requested story that we'll be touching on, and we are actually going to be doing both VHS 2 and 3 today. So that way we stay on track. I didn't want to lose that because obviously Halloween is right around the corner. So, you know, we want to make sure that we're at least within a movie or two of hitting that. So let's see here real quick. I want to check with the chat. Obviously, everybody's here. Let's see. We got Stephanie here. What's going on? Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all to everybody for all your well wishes and stuff, especially like in the Discord, on the comment sections, everybody, all your support, like definitely brightened my day up a little bit because it's just like, it was just one of those things where it's just like I'm feeling guilty on one front because like my whole house is basically at a standstill because we don't have hot water. And it's like, everything else in my life is going on, and then it's like, damn, I don't even have like any videos like ready to go. Like it caught me at such the perfect opportunity to just like hit me with my pants down because like I had just put up the other video. I hadn't even like gotten stuff. I had recorded one thing, but I don't want to do like experimental stuff yet. I'm saving that, and it's just like I got nothing. So it's like if Luke didn't have a video, then I would have felt really terrible.
Well, we always love Dylan when you feel terrible about yourself. It's what we strive for here on the channel. But we made it through. We're all good. We're all here. We're all community. And we're just loving here on Sunday Scaries.
Oh, yeah. I love Violet's comment here. Help. I've had my fright light on for 2 weeks now, and I'm scared. Yeah. Really good stuff. But what's going on, everybody? Penelope, Stephanie, Violet, Gannon, Necro, Mew here. What's going on? Gremlin, what's happening? He's currently watching 28 Years Later on Netflix. That's on Netflix now already, huh?
Wow.
That's crazy.
Can't believe it. That is really crazy. I feel like I watched that movie like a month ago.
Seriously. Luke literally did watch it like a month ago again.
Oh my gosh, I watched it a handful of times. That I was living in that space for a very long time for that 28 Years Later video. So that one I'm probably going to wait to dust off toward the end of the year as we come into our top 10 of the year lists, because I've seen that one way too many times and know way too much about that film. But I'm curious to see now that it's on Netflix. You know, you always get that. Obviously, when it's in the theater, people make a decision, then it hits VOD and more people start talking about it. But then once it gets to streaming, that's where you get a really big opinion for a lot of people. So I'm curious to see what a lot of people are going to say about it.
Mm-hmm. The general consensus will finally probably be fully felt on that, because honestly, it's been a lot of push and pull. I like right out of the theater, there was a lot of positivity, and then there was a lot of hate, and then like with the streaming, I felt like people were a little bit softer on it, especially people who were watching it again. Yeah, right. But it was one of those things where it's like, now I'm curious to see where this is going to land, because I think it's still, you know, a good movie. Like, I mean, I enjoyed it. I think it's certainly one that I'm eager to check out again. So I'll probably give it a watch this week. But I do want to watch Warfare, the Alex Garland co-directed, co-produced war movie that's apparently pretty intense. So I do want to check that one out, because that's on HBO now, as well as Superman. So if you haven't seen Superman, it's on there now. I really like that one.
I still have to watch Superman. That's one that I know. I meant really to get to the theater, but man, nowadays it just seems like we get bombarded with so much horror content that I never even am able to carve out any time to go see something at the theater that is not horror related. But that is one that has been at the top of my list to check out. So I'm excited to finally be able to sit down and watch that one, because I mean, I love James Gunn. I love his humor. I think it works so well. And from what you've talked about with Superman, it seems like the most interesting take that we've had thus far.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just very comic book faithful, like kind of like good boy, like he's happy go lucky. He's just a dude being cool and nice and just saving everything he can. And that's what I think is weird about it, because like coming from the last few, like basically decade of like a really dark and gloomy take on Superman, not saying that Henry Cavill's bad, I really like him a lot, but it's just one of those things where it's like I didn't think this version was going to work, even though I was a fan of James Gunn. I just was like, I think this will be okay at best. And honestly, I've walked away being like, I feel like I have a different understanding for the character now. I feel like I get why so many people have been clamoring for kind of like that return of a Christopher Reeves-esque, just positive Superman story.
And like I said, I haven't seen it yet, but and I know there was a discourse. I think maybe some people didn't get James Gunn's humor and the takes that he was having, like Green Lantern. I think people were laughing at the take on Green Lantern just from the stills and what he was going to bring to that, because it has that off the wall James Gunn humor to it. And if you're not really familiar or know what to expect, it's just a still image can really be off-putting to say, man, this could be really bad. But I'll tell you, everything that was coming out from that film, I was really excited about, just because you could feel that James Gunn humor oozing out of those photos. And then what you had talked about in just the take and where the setting is and some of the things that they're dealing with, it seems, like I said, the most interesting take that we've seen thus far, just because it is different. Superman for me has never been an interesting superhero. I've went to the theater. I saw Man of Steel and I wasn't all that impressed with it. Just isn't something. Superman doesn't tickle my fancy when I'm looking for a superhero film. But I think the setting here, it kind of evens things out, so to speak. So I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I mean, definitely worth it. Adrian, have you checked it out yet? I forget.
No, I haven't seen the new Superman. It's kind of a trope with me at this point, not seeing newer movies as quick. But, going off of Man of Steel, I feel like I probably liked that one a little bit more than Luke did, just because I really loved sort of the montage when he unlocked his true potential with his powers. It's like flying across the planet. That was a powerful scene. The music was really doing it for me, too. I like the fight with General Zod, how he was just like decimating this entire city. And I started thinking at some point, I was like, dude, what about the people? You know what I mean? Have they even evacuated? And then lo and behold, in Superman versus Batman, they touched on that. And even though that wasn't such a great movie, I do appreciate that continuity there.
Yeah. And yeah, it's like, I mean, I didn't get the battling between the fans when it comes to that. It's like, I liked both. I mean, like I liked Man of Steel. Like I certainly thought it was probably one of the better of the like last iteration of DC. It'd probably be in my top 3, but like it's one of those things for me where it's like I never got like, why do we have to have all this like infighting between this? So it was fun to kind of get in the comments with some people about that, because it was just like crazy, all the stuff that all this hate for like literally no reason. It was just like it's what do you want them to do? It's like if they don't make another movie, then I guess like the franchise is dead. So what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It is what it is. It's like Star Wars. I can't talk to anybody about Star Wars anymore because it's just there's just so much backlash between things. I have a select group of people that I can, and like other than that, it's just hard to talk about that stuff. Let's see. Oh, Necros is watching 28 Years right now, so hell yeah, definitely let us know what's going on. Absolutely, I did Ganon. I did all of it via YouTube video because I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, but I will scream and cry and be upset. So
that's with everything that he does.
Everything, every video, every review, every time I go to the theater, people there are really getting upset.
Dylan calls me like at 3 a.m. If you've ever seen that old David Hasselhoff video where he's eating a cheeseburger, that's Dylan at 3 a.m. doing anything.
Hell yeah. I told my son that whoever wrote the script for 28 Years Later was an Attack on Titan fan with the alphas. Yeah, I mean, definitely the way they ran and stuff too. Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. I got big Attack on Titan vibes as well because I'm a pretty huge Attack on Titan fan. And I won't say Attack on Titan is like, anything like horror, but they definitely have creepy moments in it, like how the Titans run. And that there's abnormal Titans and stuff like that. And that's what the Alpha reminded me of, how he was just standing towering over the other ones. That reminded me just like the Beast Titan in Attack on Titan. So I'm right there with you.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a good comparison, and I really like the Titans. Adrian knows this. Like, he was the one who got me onto that show, so it's one of the things where I've always complimented just the wacky, creepy design of them. Like, I'm just like, it's something. That's why of like most of the animes, I would really
Uncanny.
love to see them. I know they've done like a live action version, but I want to see like a big budget, like, let's go for it. Like, have Guillermo del Toro do Attack on Titan. Like, he'd
I would
probably
love that,
knock it out of the park.
man.
We'd get full dong too. Full dong on the,
Full dong, bro.
just like 28 years later.
Jeez, thing was like the size of somebody's leg.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Oh, we're talking Dangerous Animals. Looks like Gannon said he watched it this week. Great flick. Yeah, love Dangerous Animals. Gracie agrees.
Speaking
Penelope.
of dong, how about Jai Courtney in his underwear dancing? Let's that was a
Yeah,
show
that's
stealer.
that is one that I love recommending to people. And you know what's funny? I think it was Gannon who questioned Black Phone 2. Unfortunately, no. Right now, we don't have any access to a Black Phone 2 for Fantastic Fest. That one's going to be locked up because we're just doing virtual, so you don't get as many. But for, I think, like, aren't we getting it like the week of, Luke?
Yeah,
pretty sure
supposed
they
to
said-
be. It looks like the 14th is when we're gonna go see that one right now. So it'll be earlier on the channel, just not at Fantastic Fest. Unfortunately, that's one that will not be available to us. Some of the more high profile films tend to be locked up and not available for remote coverage, unfortunately. But sometimes we get lucky and get a couple. But Black Phone, we figured would be a no-go just because it is such a big film. But it will be on the channel a little bit early than usual.
And you know what? I gotta say too, that's not 100% because, like, you know, we were pretty surprised by one of the movies that we got, but you know, it wasn't Black Phone 2. But there was a pretty big movie that's coming out that we got to see early. And, you know, that was honestly a surprise, at least for me. I didn't expect that. So,
Well, like I said, Dylan, sometimes we get lucky. It's not always the case. Yes, but it
most
was
of the time.
So yeah, that one was a pretty big surprise. So that one will be out shortly.
Oh, yeah. What's going on, Erica? Welcome. And let's see here. My horde is going back to work tomorrow after being on vacation. Jeez, that sucks. Yeah, that is never any fun. I absolutely hate that. And yeah, one of the things that's like been weird about this is, like, at least I don't know if like Luke feels this or not, but like since going full time, it almost feels like you're never off. Because you're kind of just like, between having little ones and stuff, you're kind of just, other than like your set couple of work days, like I have about 3 days that I can like really lock in and do a bunch of editing for. But like everything else is just kind of when you get to it. Sometimes I'm working in the morning, sometimes I'm working in the evening. Like, it's just kind of whatever, you know, you're just always, when can I get back to the computer?
You know, I think you're always on, and that is usually how it works. You know, of course you have time to delegate in terms of your personal time and everything, but you know, since you don't have necessarily designated work hours, it becomes kind of you always feel like you should be working. You know, I don't know how to balance it at the moment, because it always feels like you can almost turn every little thing into a video, or most of the times what I'm watching is in preparation for a video, or I'm writing something out, or, you know, finding tidbits and facts for a list, something like that, or preparing for a review. So it always feels like you're always on no matter what. So, I mean, you have time for your personal life, but then you're always come back to, well, working on channel stuff. So, yeah, but again, it's fun stuff. It's stuff we're intrigued by. So, I mean,
I can't complain.
Some
but
of
like,
the disturbing stuff is
yeah,
maybe we're
it's
not
true.
horribly interested in, but you know, it's at least some sort of creative outlet where you can hopefully flip it to turn into something interesting in terms of dialogue. But it always feels like 24/7 you're always on no matter what.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's been taking some adjustments, but I think we're finally getting that. But it is definitely different. I know it kind of opens that thing up where it's like, but I kind of felt like this when we were working too, where it's like, you know, after you finish one video, it's like, well, I gotta get right back on for the next one, because like I have like multiple lists written out on like multiple Google Docs that it's very sloppy. But like I have a bunch of stuff just like there, and it's kind of just like, either picking out of that or going through suggestions and stuff. And it's like, it's definitely like, you never feel like you're not working. You always feel like you're moving, except this past week, like with just doing the thing. Like, I was busy, I was doing stuff, arguably harder stuff, but it was just like, man, that was like the most time I've stepped away from this in a while, and it was very strange.
Oh yeah, and that's where it's like, I don't know how you feel, Dylan. I'm sure you're this way as well, where you're working on a list, but then you always want to have 2 or 3 ideas ready to go,
waiting
so that,
in the wings.
so it's like the worst feeling is getting something out and then being like, okay, what to do next. It's like to already have something going on. So as soon as that list drops, as soon as you set the time for it to drop on the channel, it's like, okay, I'm already back into whatever the next thing's going to be, whether it's going to be a review, obviously handle those, but then also just hop right into that list. So you never feel like you're just wandering out there in the water, not sure where to go next.
Oh yeah. But hey, Poppin' Fresh, what's up? Thank you, sir. You absolute, I can't believe it. This is too kind. But have a great show, gentlemen. I pre-ordered the X Trilogy on the A24 website. I saw that get announced, and there's on Second Sight. Anyway, again, great show. Off to work. We'll catch a show on repeat tomorrow. Well, we hope you enjoy it there, Poppin'. Thank you so much for supporting us. Seriously, that helps a lot, especially with this week being like very light on the videos. But like, yeah, I saw that. And so is there a Second Sight version, or is Second Sight doing the A24 variant? Because I that's the only thing that confused me, because I didn't get to look too deep into it. But I am happy, and this is why I did not buy Maxxxine. Like, I got Pearl, but then when I saw that Maxxxine had a 4K finally, like a singular one, I'm like, well, they're just going to upgrade the other two eventually, right? So I was like, I am not buying this until there's a full set.
Yeah, and didn't they release like oh, first of all, thank you so much, Poppin' Fresh, for the donation. We greatly appreciate it. And anytime you want to drop a question our way, feel free. But that, didn't they release it was like a small like combo pack of all 3 or something like that. I think
maybe it was like a DVD set or a Blu-ray.
And that one just looked like, there's got to be something better waiting to come out. And this one, good gosh, it looks gorgeous. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I'm looking at the one on the A24 website at the moment, and that looks like that's their version. So does Second Sight have one?
That I'm gonna have to look as well to see, because I've seen the A24 version. I'm assuming that's the one. I don't know. Does Second Sight sell A24 products then? Is that maybe just the...
Yeah, they have the Florida project up here.
So it might just be the same one.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So it looks like they're releasing Maxxxine and Pearl as standalone editions, but they're like boxes. So I don't know. Is X on there as well? I'm trying to see. All UHD. No, maybe that one's coming eventually. I don't know, but they're doing their own kind of releases. They are nice looking though. Like that Pearl box is gorgeous. So
I'm gonna have to look here.
That's one that I definitely will be trying to pick those up eventually. Because even though I don't think Maxxxine hit as hard, like I did enjoy the movie more than I think most people did, but I can admit that it doesn't necessarily live up to the other two. So it's one of those things for me where it's just like I don't mind owning all 3 as a set. I think like I would watch Maxxxine even if I don't necessarily love Maxxxine.
Absolutely. I think Maxxine's an efficient enough film that I would own it. I think visually it's very nice. I think narratively it loses something, especially toward that third act as compared to X and Pearl in what we got there. So, but Maxxxine was an okay time at the theater. It's not a bad film. It just, when you have a film like X and a film like Pearl in this trilogy, and those were, when we did the best of the year that year, they were both in there, and they were at in the tops of the list, and they were in the top of the list for a lot of people. So when you have that kind of quality in there, you're really hoping, especially that layover with Maxxxine, where we had, what was it, a 2-year layover, something like that.
I think it was 2 years. Yeah.
So we of course we had X, happy surprise, built anticipation for Pearl, but it was a short turnaround. And then when you look at Maxxxine, we had that anticipation for over a year where we're just like, okay, we're getting closure to this. It's got to live up to the quality of the first two films. I think the bar was set so high with that film, and I don't really like where they went in terms of the resolution with that one. I think you could have done something way more interesting with it. But it has a nice flavor to it. Visually, it's very nice. There are some interesting takes in there. It doesn't have the follow through, I don't think, that X or Pearl does.
Yeah, I don't really like the resolution. That's the reveal. That's really all it is. Like everything else up until then is fine. Like I enjoy it. I kind of feel the same way about Maxxxine that I do Scream 3. It's like it's pretty good. It's not amazing. But when I watch the others, I'm going to throw it on too eventually. So that's just kind of where I sit with it.
Yeah, I think that's totally where I'm at. Where Scream 3, I don't know necessarily if I've ever just been like, hey, I'm going to watch Scream 3. I watched Scream 3 after I watched Scream and Scream 2. Maxxxine, I think, is going to be the same way, where I don't think I'm ever going to get the hunger to watch just Maxxxine. I'll watch Maxxxine after I watch X and Pearl. And I can watch Pearl or X by themselves, but I don't think Maxxine's ever going to be that.
Yeah.
Today feels like a Maxxxine type of day.
Very true. Very true. Let's see. I thought Dangerous Animals was a movie about a serial killer who killed people via animals. Then I heard it was a shark movie that doesn't even show the sharks, so I lost all interest. No, they do. They do show the sharks. There's a couple of scenes with them. They're very big, pivotal moments. But like it's not necessarily like it's not like a killer shark movie. It's like they're animals. They're doing what they're doing because, ease of access, I guess, is the way to say it without spoiling everything. So it's like, they're just doing it. They're living their best life. They're getting fed well, I guess is the best way you could put it.
Yeah, it's certainly a different take. It kind of meshes that serial killer subgenre with a shark film. And I don't know. Kind of I don't want to say pushback necessarily, but when we got the comments in our review was like, oh, I wanted a very pure shark film, and that's not what that film is. It tries to find this balance, and I think if you're looking for a pure shark film, it may be a little bit lighter, especially if you're going in for that's what you want out of the film, because of the way that they kind of twist it in them meshing between the two subgenres themselves. So it does feel a little bit different. I think we've seen more so critiques on the shark element more so than anything else in that. But Dangerous Animals, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great film. Jai Courtney's perfection in that film, and the way that they used devices, I guess I'd say, is really well done.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It'll be in my top 10 of the year for sure. Let's see. We got Gory Tiger here. What's up, my boy? What's going on? Eli, how's it going? What's happening? Yes, Erica, I talked about that. Like, I think we finished talking about that right before you popped in. So, basically it's all fixed now. Took a little longer than I thought. The damage isn't terrible. Just a little bit of carpet and, a couple of, like things that were on the floor, but nothing like too bad. I think one of the worst things was that like the water got so high that one of the cat boxes that was close to it kind of got overtaken just because of where it was on this little slant, and there was just like for a little bit there as I was like basically trying really hard to like figure out and stop the water and stuff, just smelled awful. And then I was like walking around, I realized I was walking in cat litter water, and I was like, oh god. So quickly had to go get the shop vac and just like start basically bailing it out. It was gross, dude. It was bad.
It was like walking on the beach.
It was terrible. It was the worst. It's like walking on the beach with like probably some floating cat turds in there. Like yeah, it was bad. It was bad. I'm just really happy I didn't have my slides on. I wear those all the time. So streaming services make it hard to simply watch the credits. It's so annoying. I like sitting with the music and taking it all in. As a kid, sometimes I watch credits, see the film's title at the end. Yeah, no, I mean, I hate that too, especially with like I don't understand why streaming service shows like on Disney Plus will put a like post-credit scene or like a little credit scene after, but sometimes the next episode will completely buzz by, like, so that way you're like right before they start the scene, it's just like, oh, we're going on to the next episode. It's like, that is super annoying. It seems to be like older shows that would do that. They just aren't like programmed properly, and they just fucking buzz right past stuff.
Are you saying that they totally negate a post-credit scene and go straight
Yeah, like
into
a
the next
post-credit
episode?
scene could start happening, but the countdown to the next episode, if you don't pause it or if you don't hit it in time, it will just jump right to the next episode in the middle of a scene.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
never experienced that. I guess I never really paid attention too much to the post-credit scenes and things. I don't even know the last time I watched something that had a post-credit scene that was streaming. I don't know, just because we watched so many things early. But, um, man, I don't know. They just want to get you to that next episode to continue.
Gotta keep
to
you
continue going. You
engaged.
know, unfortunately, that's the sucky part about it, because I like watching credits as well. I think when you put in a Blu-ray and this are able to sit through the credits, sometimes, you know, the music's great. So, there's an art to the end credits. You know, sometimes people get up and walk out of the theater for that type of stuff, especially when they know there's no post credit. I do enjoy, if there's time, just to sit down and go through until, you know, you see whatever's at the very end there, and then the lights come on into the theater. I think that's such a great experience to kind of just soak in what you just watched. I think a lot of people are losing that, because they, especially with streaming, you just get to the next thing and move on about your day. But I know as we sit in the theater, and when we sat in there for like the long walk, there was nothing at the long walk, but we sat there and went through the very end till the house lights came on. And
Oh yeah. That was I still need to get that review out. I'm getting that out just simply because, like, we won't even bury it. Like, Luke and I loved that movie.
it's
Like, we had
fantastic.
so much to say about it. At this point, I almost like think we should just reshoot a spoiler or something, because like it's out, and you know, with everything I didn't get it up, but it's like I so want to talk about it. The Long Walk is so worth checking out, and I still want to see him. We obviously didn't get to go see that this week either, but you know, we're going to circle back on that. There's a handful that before the end of the year we'll definitely be releasing a video. We've teased it on Patreon that we've asked for some votes and stuff like that. We'll have to collect that data and maybe post a little bit more and see what we can come to for those. But yeah, then there was Gracie here. As a shark lover, I thought Dangerous Animals was great, and they had shots showing the sharks as beautiful, made me tear up. Yes, I agree. I love the way they portrayed the sharks. They portrayed those sharks. Yes, the way the sharks were treated, they were excellent. They were definitely, like I said, they were like animals. They weren't bloodthirsty monsters, which, don't get me wrong, I love that shit. But like, I also appreciate this because it made the film feel a little bit more grounded. And then also, to follow up here, I think this sounds great, Luke. What about you? I want someone to write a Dexter-like show that shows Tucker making all those tapes.
That would be fantastic. I think Dylan and I had talked about that. I don't even know if that's even in the review, but I know we had talked about
A
something about
prequel.
that. Yeah, in doing something like that. That would be fantastic, especially like if you've watched the Creep tapes, you know, where they kind of go
I was
through
literally about to use that as an example. Yeah.
those instances of where they go through him making those kills and things like that. That would be so much fun, especially whether that was on a big streaming service or that ended up on something like Shudder, whatever. And they just did 6-part series or something. There's so much mileage you can get out of something like Dangerous Animals. And Jai Courtney, I mean, I think everyone goes back to that, and I've mentioned it, or talking about Dangerous Animals here over just the course of probably 10 minutes of his performance is so fantastic. It would be a travesty not to get him on screen again, either as that character or playing another serial killer. He just felt like he had so much fun with that role that I have to see him in that element again.
I hope he works with Sean Byrne again.
Yes.
I really want him and Sean Byrne to keep working together. They seem to have really hit it off, especially in the interview. He had nothing but nice things to say about Jai Courtney. Let me see here. I've watched you both for a while. I've seen almost every Sunday live. Now, who in the world is the guy on the bottom right on the screen? Thank you, Amy. You were too kind.
so
We
much.
really appreciate it. That's
You're
our
the
boy,
best, Amy.
Adrian. He helps us out on this show to help make it more dynamic because, yeah, it's like, not to say I couldn't do it, but I feel like between I keep up with the chat, Luke is in charge of the news. It's kind of a lot to click the camera around and try to hit points where it's like we get close-ups, and that was like important to Luke and I when we wanted to make this show a live show, because like we wanted to somewhat differentiate in style from our usual stuff. So it's like it kind of, you get the best of both worlds here, where you get the standard select camera views with our backgrounds, and you get the wide open space. But also, I didn't just want to keep our boy in the dark down there. He gets a spot. I just figured, we'll just put him down there instead of just doing the whole 3-screen thing, which I don't know. At this point, we could probably just throw 3 screens up. Like,
I mean, yeah, my primary job, as he was saying, is I just kind of control, like, the cameras and stuff. But, I also love movies. I also love a good horror flick, and I can weigh in sometimes. And admittedly, I do want to start watching a lot more of them. I know Dylan was like, watch VHS 2 and Viral, but I'm a piece of shit, so I didn't get around to it.
You're good.
Yeah, I'll be slowly trickling in a little bit, and I'm also not trying to take the spotlight either. These 2 studs here, man, they're the real stars of the show, so here to support them.
You're good.
I would say that Adrian kind of raises the bar in that handsome meter at least 2 notches, so we got to have him on here. But yeah, he does a great job producing the show. Kind of, I don't know. A couple times he has not been able to make his schedule work and be on the show. It feels very different. So he is a vital element to the show. And I mean, it runs so seamlessly with him in here. So we are very grateful to have Adrian here.
I'm also their bottom guy,
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, I don't want to highlight this. Like the guy at the bottom. That sounds so mean. And then Mama Mayhem called you the cellar dweller.
There it is.
That's the cellar dweller.
Hey, he's working on it. Admittedly, we've just kind of been building up the funds, so we got to get Adrian some Amazon access so he can get a couple of tapestries and stuff or something.
The primary issue is I'm really indecisive, and I'm like, if I'm going to put like a tapestry up there, I need to represent something, and I'm more of like, I look at movies in sort of like an objective way of like how they perform, less so as like, this is my favorite, or that's my favorite. I would say, Evil Dead's probably still my favorite horror movie of all time. So I probably should just say, fuck it, get one up there. But yep, I'm the power bottom.
Oh geez, poor Stephanie walking in on this conversation. We have to mail him something. He has no choice in what it is. Oh, that'd be cool.
That's actually kind of dope.
That would be fun. I think we should try to put that together.
You see, she's looking out for what I need, so I appreciate that. Can't make decisions at all.
Always got to thank Erica. She's honestly done an amazing, wonderful job. I actually met up with Jake and Evan from Rockland Graves last week. I know I posted that photo. More to come on that. I don't necessarily know. I know you guys know we saw Shelby Oaks. We got some things to talk about with that one. That one's been kind of waiting in the weeds since the inception of the channel. So lots of fun. So we'll get to that. But I got to say, I gloated to Jake about all the stuff you did for us, Erica, and he was honestly nothing but positive praise for you as well. Like, seriously, amazing work. And I've been trying to keep up with it. I'll be a lot better this week because I don't have a hot water heater that I have to bang my head against for a couple days. So once that's all fixed up and good, now that we're here, I will be back in there trying to kind of establish things and, keep up with the conversation, because I love seeing all the stuff you guys have been doing. Yep. Oh no. Next week, Adrian in a gimp suit. That'll be rough. That's
high priority right there. I like where Ganon's head at in that one. So
alrighty. Well, Luke, you want to hop into the news? You want to take us off on our first adventure for the night?
Why not? Let's get into the news. I know Gremlin mentioned it a little while ago as the chats that are popping off. And Dylan's pick here is news-wise. Anaconda is getting a remake, reboot, I don't know, sequel. Who knows what the hell's going on here. But starring Jack Black. We also have Paul Rudd as well as Steve Zahn in this. It looks like a bit more of a comedic tone as they set out to remake their favorite film of Anaconda. So this is kind of a bit of a meta take, but also seems very, at least lighthearted from the trailer. Jack Black did come out and say there are quite a bit of horror tones in there as well, so they're not glossing over that. Just felt like the trailer was pretty comedy heavy, actually.
Yeah, and so there's a couple things that I've kind of turned tail on this film for. And I mean that like in a positive sense, because before I really thought, okay, I like the first two Anaconda movies. Once we get to Sci-Fi Land, it's, you know, pretty debatable. I've seen all of them. I'm not proud of that, but I have. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I never really thought this franchise was going to come back to theaters. So when it said it was, I was like, oh, awesome. I hope they go back to doing like some practical effects snake stuff and we can really make this scary and cool. They didn't do that, but I kind of, I think, turned away from it way too quickly because I was just like, dude, no, Jack Black, he's in everything. Paul Rudd's starting to be in everything. And then it turned into this trailer. And I gotta admit, when I watched the trailer, I think I finally understood the pitch, and I'm actually way more excited for this. The only thing that would seal the deal for me at this point is if this gets an R rating. And that's because I felt like some mild Tropic Thunder vibes, but then when I saw that it was directed by I think it's Tom Gormican, the guy who did The Unbearable Weight of a Massive Talent with the Nicolas Cage movie, that also got me excited because I loved what he did with that. And that also kind of had this meta weird, like Nicolas Cage is playing Nicolas Cage, like kind of take to it. So I'm real excited to see what they do with this now.
Yeah, it certainly has my attention. I don't know 100% how I feel about it. I'm not going in here to take this film serious. It's not supposed to be that way, certainly by the tone of the trailer here. It takes me by surprise when Jack Black says that there are going to be some horror tones into this, because yeah, of course, Anaconda, the original big creature feature, I just don't know, trying to balance some so comedy heavy that this feels, at least from the trailer, and try to kind of implement a lot of horror into it for us to feel the weight of the horror when we're dealing with so much comedy between, you know, Paul Rudd, Jack Black, Steve Zahn. I don't know how I'm going to feel in terms of, am I going to be able to get in that headspace when we get into horror? Is it going to feel like true horror, or is it just going to kind of feel like a wink and a nod when this big CGI snake's on the screen, which is how I think I'm going to feel about it.
Yeah, and I will say the snake looks god awful, and that does mildly upset me because I'm like, again, I want to see some really cool, like, you know, practical effects stuff, but like, you know, maybe we'll get a couple shots of that. But if it's funny, dude, if like they actually make this a raunchy comedy like from the mid 2000s, and like Tropic Thunder was a great comparison I heard earlier this week, and I completely agree with it, where it's like, if we can have that where it's gory and it's like the snake is just ripping people like up and just like, you know, doing not snake stuff at all, but maybe he's like, you know, squeezing them to death and shit. Like if we can do that, I think we can find that kind of magical like blend and balance that I'm hoping for. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be like, we're bringing back the raunchy comedy with Anaconda by any man, like anything whatsoever. But I do think that this looks a lot more fun and weirder than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was really just going to be, like I said, the Minecraft movie with Paul Rudd and Jack Black, but with Anaconda and stuff.
Yeah, I think this one could be fun when we go to the theater to check this one out. You know, I'm not going to go into this review thinking I'm getting a deep-rooted horror film. I think I'm going to probably look at it through the lens of more so comical experience, just real lighthearted, to go in and to have some fun. And I think that's probably going to be the right lens to watch this film. I don't know if I'm going to revisit it after watching it unless it's really fun. I know Necro just mentioned there, he said with the big budget stars there, it's going to be castrated comedy, which I'm also curious about. I know, Dylan, you were talking about
I
raunchy
know that's what I
comedy.
don't want it to be. I want it to be fun. I want it to be like really gory and like just again edgy. Like it doesn't have to be necessarily like super offensive. There doesn't have to be a bunch of nudity and a bunch of other shit. Like I'm just saying, like just have some fun with the concepts and just like be goofy and just like lean into it. Like I just want some of that. Like it's and we might get that because I think that the unbearable weight of whatever the hell I thought that actually did pretty good. So I think that it could also be I just hope it's more of that tone and less like Jumanji. Because that's the other vibe that I get from this is the Jumanji movies, which again, I don't hate them. I've watched them a ton with my niece and nephews as they were growing up and like they love them, but it's one of those things where it's like they're okay, like they're not anything to write home about.
Yeah. And admittedly, I haven't seen any of the newer Jumanji movies. That kind of comedy does turn me off. I do like the, I guess, raunchier comedy. I saw a film, I think it was last year, maybe. It was, I don't know. A lot of people haven't seen it. I think it showed up on Amazon when I watched it. It's called Ricky Stenicki. It's got like John Cena and Zac Efron and Andrew Santino in it. And it kind of does push the envelope a little bit more than I thought more current comedy does. And I'm curious if, having Jack Black, having Paul Rudd in a bigger budgeted film that's going to be in the theater, are they going to even push the envelope, or is it just going to be more of a safe kind of journey, comical kind of film, which I could easily see being, but I don't know. I think this is just going to kind of be a film that passes us by. We're going to go see it and honestly probably forget about it, that they remade this in a couple years' time. I don't know if it has that staying power. I wish they would have done a practical Anaconda as well. I thought that would have been a lot of fun. And of course, they're doubling down on the CGI stuff. And I don't know. I appreciate the take of it being meta and this being, their favorite film and they want to go ahead and remake it. But I don't know. I'm not expecting too much out of it other than just a decent time at the theater. And again, I'm not probably going to take that review overly serious. I don't think it's just kind of be something I'm going to go in and be like, meh. It was okay. It's certainly a different take on Anaconda.
As long as it's like if it's like Cocaine Bear,
yes.
I think we'll have a lot of fun.
Again,
Cocaine Bear is kind of the tone I want.
Yep. If you can get the tone of Cocaine Bear, which that is not necessarily like pushing the envelope toward a raunchy comedy, but it finds its place. It's fun, and that was
shockingly gory moments at times.
Yes. Especially if you could do that. If you can catch me off guard with the amount of either, if you're going to do a gore, just a couple horrific scenes in the film could really amp up how I feel about that film. So if you double down on the comedy, but then you just catch us off guard with a couple of real horrific scenes or a couple of crazy deaths, I think that can really win over a lot of fans. I know it will for me.
Absolutely. I did want to call out, we got Davey Deathray in the chat. What is up, my man? How you doing?
Oh,
welcome.
It's been too long.
Welcome.
Davey.
I know it's been a while.
We're gonna have to coordinate something, whether it's Sunday Scaries or a Davey show. We're gonna have to.
I know. I do want to. I want to get some guests on here so we can introduce Adrian to some of our buddies and stuff, and also just catch up with some people. Now we have this, and it's not just Beyond the Splatter Graves. We can kind of get some more people in here. Let's see. Yeah, so we talked about this one. Davey agrees. He says, yeah, Necro, this is going to be like those Jumanji movies or Journey to the Center of the Earth or some shit. Yeah, see, everybody's kind of pointed that way as well, and I agree. It definitely looks like it. I just don't
set your expectations low, so they're either met or exceeded, right?
I know, and it's like I think my expectations were so bottomed out that when I saw this trailer and I actually was like, hey, that actually has some potential. Maybe I'm hyping myself up too much, but I'm excited for it nonetheless. We don't have that long to wait. Necro says, I'd watch it if Adam Green directed it. Dude, he would crush it.
Absolutely.
He would absolutely demolish
the way
Anaconda movie.
The way Hatchet feels in the swamp, if we took that tone of Hatchet and with like how he does like that light comedy where, you know, you get a chuckle, but then you're right back into the graphic horror that he does. Being able to create that atmosphere, I think Adam Green would be a exceptional pick to if they wanted to really make Anaconda into like a pure horror property.
I don't want I don't want Victor Crowley. I want the first two Hatchets. Well, I just want to make that clear. Victor Crowley, didn't care for that one. I don't know. I gotta rewatch that one. That's the only one I didn't watch when we did the whole rewatch. Was that 2 summers ago now?
I think it was it
last summer. No, it
yeah,
was
last summer. I think. I honestly still I don't think I watched 3. Because we never fully got through all that stuff.
Yeah,
3 and Victor Crowley are still. I still got to catch up on those.
Yeah, Victor Crowley is it's special there. If Robert Downey Jr. makes a cameo as his Tropic Thunder character, I'll be all in. Agreed. Absolutely. I love that movie. That is probably my favorite comedy of all time. Like when I really sit back and think about it, like that movie, I think like it really transcends a lot of other comedies in my opinion. I don't know. I just feel like it was probably the last really, really great comedy.
I think so too. I'd have to sit down and think about it.
Yeah,
as well,
I'd have to get refreshed.
From the cast itself, each different character, what they pull from with each character, and the subject matter that they cover, and you know, we don't necessarily see that in a lot of more modern comedies. I think that is why Tropic Thunder's going to be so timeless, and people still talk about it. They reference it. I remember when that film had come out. Those references, it was like Napoleon Dynamite, where everyone was just referencing that film, reference after reference. You couldn't escape it. And Tropic Thunder is still such a talked about film online. Like,
oh yeah,
it has such a huge following. The performances are phenomenal in it.
Necro's right. Tom Cruise as well.
Oh yeah, Tom Cruise is like. I remember being so surprised to see him as Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder.
It's so good.
I was like, they really got Tom Cruise to do that. And he fully commits to that role, and it's fantastic.
We don't negotiate with terrorists. Diet Coke. Let's go. It's like, I love that fucking movie.
That scorched earth.
What is up?
Like
What's
fantastic.
up? What's happening? Welcome. Yeah, so all in all, I hope that Anaconda is a welcome surprise, but if it does, if it's another one for the Anaconda burn pile, then we're not changing anything. You know what I mean? Like it's just going to go back to sci-fi. Last time it was the Lake Placid sci-fi crossover, I believe. So, you know, let's just leave it at that. If this one sucks, it sucks. But I will certainly be there.
Is there room for another pure horror snake film? Should we double down on that?
I think so. There's one by Mike P. Nelson called about the Titanoboa coming out.
Oh,
yeah, after Silent Night, Deadly Night. So if he knocks it out of the park with that, I'll be excited for Titanoboa. So
I've always been fixated on giant snake-like creatures, like second Harry Potter movie, that giant snake. When I was 6,
the Basilisk, dude.
Dude, that
so
freaked me
good.
out when I was a little kid.
Holds the fuck up too. Holds up. I watched that movie last Christmas. It was just like, I think at my dad's house it was on because he watches them whenever he sees them. Huge Harry Potter guy, and like I just was like admiring the animatronics and the CGI. Like it holds the fuck up. Like it is intimidating as hell.
I've only seen pieces and parts of Harry Potter. I've never actually sat down and watched a full Harry Potter film.
It's worth it. I think like there's some standout ones for sure, but like it's a good story. At least the first iteration. I wouldn't do Fantastic Beasts. Really. Like that just kind of goes to a dead end. So
I grew up wanting to be a wizard, and the fact that I never turned out to be a wizard, it's a bit of a sore spot. So
never
a sorcerer spot.
Oh jeez. Okay, we should talk about the next news story before people start clicking off. So
all right, well, let's hop into it as we're talking about kind of remakes, reboots. Apparently Sleepaway Camp is going to be getting some sort of remake here. Came out a couple days ago. It looks like I think we talked about it when we were on Flet's movie podcast.
We did
just briefly. They had mentioned Kenan Thompson is going to be involved. Well, his company, his producing company, is going to be involved. Looks like the original director. They're going to be working off of a script that he has. So we're still kind of having the same name in the pot from a script as well as a director standpoint. At least that's what they're speaking of right now. So they're going to pay tribute to the OG story, they said, with a couple new insane twists. So looks like that's the route they're going to go with, at least right now. And what that means,
Kenan Thompson's not directing this?
He is not directing. He's part of the production company. Him along with, let me see here, his name's Johnny Ryan Jr. They both, it's AFA as a production company, so they are involved in that aspect of it. He is not directing. At least that's, I pulled an article from Bloody Disgusting, because I think it was presented to us that, at least the way we took it was that he was going to be directing it. But it looks like,
swore that was like, it was my bad. I probably jumped to that because I think I saw a tweet about that.
Okay.
And I just went with that as the gospel. I'm sorry, guys. I failed you all.
No, because at least that article says that the original director is supposed to write and helm the project. So,
hey, that's interesting. So
it looks like they've actually, at least in that article, said that him and his wife have actually maintained the rights in hopes. People have inquired about it, but they've actually maintained the rights in hopes that they would able to do some sort of remake in the future. So it looks like they're getting their wish.
Yeah, this is an interesting one then, because like at first I was, obviously like I don't have anything against Kenan Thompson. I think he's a funny dude, and I like him. The movie I remember him most from is Snakes on a Plane. He has a role in that. He's super funny. They make him like have to fly the plane at the end because he's the only one who has experience. He played it on PSP. I love that movie growing up, so I'm gonna have to cover it at some point. But I was very like put off by that at first when I thought that he was directing it, because I was like, that's interesting, because I didn't hear about him or at least remember or recall that he had directed anything else. So I was like, this is your directorial debut. And it's like, okay, but seeing him as a producer and stuff like that, it's like, that makes more sense, because I knew that he had produced things because he helped bring like the sequel to Good Burger and stuff.
Same
and
company,
all that.
same company's doing.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, then it's like, yeah, that makes sense then, because yeah, I know he's produced a lot of stuff, and I'm like, that feels more right to me, because I think like it's definitely, if you need somebody who's like passionate about the project or something, and they're just kind of like wanting to shepherd it through like this, and they're willing to put up the cash, like that's awesome. Like I'm much happier with that, knowing that. And I think it's interesting that we're getting the original writer director back. That's
because the article from Bloody Disgusting, I just checked to verify, it does say Robert Hiltzik, who wrote and directed the original cult classic, is back to helm. Is back at the helm to direct from his own screenplay. So yeah, it looks like we're gonna have the original director and writer back for this one. I'm curious to see how this one's gonna turn out. That was a film, and I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the channel. Sleepaway Camp's probably going to be in an upcoming list for me, so I don't want to dive too deep into it. But this was a film that was way back in the mid-2000s for me when I started really going into, I guess you'd say, more the underbelly into horror, where Friday the 13th, The Usual Suspects, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, those things I already knew about. I always enjoyed them. But then I watched Hatchet, as we were talking about Adam Green, and that one was on the message boards. It was highly recommended. I ended up watching Hatchet, ended up loving Hatchet. So then I took a handful of other recommendations, which were The Burning and Sleepaway Camp were on that list. And I remember getting that package from Amazon at the time in the mail. I got home from school and turned on, I think, The Burning first and then Sleepaway Camp. And those were like pivotal horror moments for me to be like, okay, there's a whole different category of horror that I have to uncover here, and that's really what started that journey. So Sleepaway Camp was so intertwined in there. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I don't know how many twists and turns you're going to do from that original. That certainly the ending toward the original is caught me off guard at the time. I know I rewound that to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing.
If you don't know, it's one of those things. I had it spoiled for me from a Watch Mojo list. back in the day. So that was one that I already knew the ending to, but I could totally see that being absolutely shocking to especially audiences in the 80s.
Yeah, it's subject matter that was certainly not touched on. At least I haven't ran across too many films that were touched on anything like that Sleepaway Camp does. And I don't know. I'm curious to see what they're going to do. I certainly have. When we had talked about it earlier in the week, thinking Kenan Thompson was going to be directing it, I was like, I really don't know how that's going to work out. I have some more reassurance knowing that the original writer and director is coming back, and clearly a passion project, holding on to those rights and wanting to have another crack at this. I think Sleepaway Camp could be an interesting property to bring back in terms of getting more eyes on that property, giving horror audiences a reason to either revisit the original or just go into this one completely blind. You know, as we talk about so many other horror properties that are getting reignited because Fathom events, things like that we never thought we would see, Silent Night, Deadly Night being one of them that's coming out in a couple of months, or Toxie that we just witnessed a couple months ago and how fun that was. So I don't know. I'm open to Sleepaway Camp, see what they're going to do. Man, those sequels, we've talked about those, are pretty brutal. So it leaves a lot of room for improvement if they want to really make a run for making this a bigger franchise than it was in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if you'd consider it as sleazy by today's standards, but like it was definitely one of those, like, the Sleepaway Camp, the first one, was not mainstream horror when it came out. And it's like it goes a little edgier than what like Friday the 13th was even doing at the time. And one of the things about that I think is super, like, vaguely unfortunate, but also kind of just weird, is just like they never really stopped doing that, especially as the budgets got smaller. They just started getting more and more like risque and messed up. Like there's legitimate like PDF files in the third one and stuff like that. That's just like really weird shit. And it's like, I feel like it's only in there because these are who they had and they didn't have anybody else. And they had a vague idea of how they wanted to do the third film. And that's what they did. It's like, Jesus.
I think, you know, especially tackling the subject matter that the original does. And when you start looking at the sequels there, I feel like the idea behind a lot of those was, how do we continue to push in the envelope after we've done what we did in that first one? And really the only thing they can kind of do is complete debauchery. And I think that that's really what they doubled down with those sequels, because I feel like they get more and more offensive as you go further into the franchise. The 3 being probably the showcase there.
Absolutely. Because like the first one, it's like, it's shocking. And it's definitely something, again, for the 80s where it's like, you know, when you're, because I'm dancing around it, because I mean, Erica, of all people, has not seen it. So I don't know if they know about the ending. I don't want to spoil it. But it is one of those things where it's like, you do wonder what they're going to do, like what direction they're going to take this and how they're going to do it. Like Davey brings this up. You'd imagine they've got to put some new spin on the twist, right? Like have an extra layer to it. It's like, I wonder how much they're going to like explore. Are we going to go back to like the ants and look into more of that? Or are we going to like change it entirely and make it some other kind of non, like, I don't know how you get more unexpected than that. You know what I mean? Like, it was just really smart how they did it. I also see, yes, Felissa Rose cameo, more than likely. Yeah, she's still cameos in the later sequels. So yeah, she's been in there quite a bit.
That's what we'll have a recast as the ant here, but yeah, they would have to have an extra layer to that film, because you can't really just go verbatim for a film that had come out in the 80s and say we're going to copy and paste and throw it in, you know, 2027 or whenever the release is going to be. I think you need to make a case for a film like this existing in modern times, not just retelling the same story. And I think it could have an effect to a certain extent for modern audiences, especially if you've never went back and watched something like Sleepaway Camp. But I think you really have to do a couple new twists. And apparently, at least that's what they said in the article, that they do have a couple new twists for the story, which I don't really know where you go. Maybe they do go the ant route and dive deeper into those layers, or what exactly is going on there. Or maybe they change that backstory entirely. Who knows?
Yeah.
And kind of keep us guessing of will they or won't they is maybe the route they're going to go with. because I don't know, especially nowadays with modern horror and sitting through, Zach Krager stuff and things like that. It's kind of like, there's a lot of potential to push that envelope, but then we're also kind of a little bit spoiled in that sense where we're almost expecting the twist. Where in Sleepaway Camp, I think it was so jarring at the time that no one, just like me watching that in the mid 2000s, had to go back and be like, wait, did I just see what I thought I saw?
Right. Yeah. It's just one of those, oh shit. And I guess I'm only going to say this because Erica gave us permission. Well, no, there's still people. I won't say it. I was going to say, oh shit, it's you know what? But it's one of those things where it's like it's going to be interesting. Gracie brings up a good point. I think the twist would be weird to do today. Like, there's a lot of discussion about that particular topic nowadays, and yeah, especially with like, it's not even just the fact of what they're portraying; it's the fact of like how it is, because like, again, it doesn't seem like this was a choice. It very much was not something where they're like, yeah, this is what they're doing by their own will and by any means. You know what I mean? Like, it's very much like an abusive, forced on them kind of thing. So it's like, I wonder what they're going to do. But I agree. I think they're going to probably have to go with something even crazier or something kind of out there. So I wonder what they got. I like Necro here says, gonna have to do a Marshmallow-esque twist. That was definitely one that I didn't see coming.
Yeah, that was certainly an interesting film. Marshmallow is going to be in the top 10 discussion, guaranteed. As we get toward the end of the year there, because I like that twist there, unexpected. I think that one was well done. I think looking at Sleepaway Camp, maybe they keep that kind of ending, but in terms of the twist, but they don't make it the actual ending anymore. Maybe that happens halfway through the film, and then we continue with the narrative, and then we learn something new completely. Because I don't think you need to end on that final beat of the film. So I think, yeah, you need to add in a couple extra twists and turns to keep us on our toes. Because I think going to Sleepaway Camp, regardless if you've seen it right now or not, going into Sleepaway Camp, a remake, a lot of people are probably going to do their research. And
they're going to learn about that. Yeah.
Whether they actually watch it or they pull it up on Wikipedia, watch a video on it, whatever they want to do, I think a lot of people are going to be expecting that ending. So if you drop that within the first 35, 40 minutes of the film and then start making the idea and say, well, what's next? And what are they going to throw at me? Because you're already going to be expecting something like that. So I think maybe you get that element out of the way real quick with the narrative and then get us going, okay, where do we go from here? That's really, I think, how you would have to do a new Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, it's almost like they might have to do like an initial drop that and then take it, 3-4 steps further, like drop that same twist if it is in there or anything like that, like early, to catch everybody, be like, wow, like what are they doing? And then it's like, you kind of just keep adding to it. Like, how do you go crazier? Now I got some ideas, but it's nothing like the original Sleepaway Camp. Would be like taking it almost be like Wrong Turning Sleepaway Camp, where they did the remake to that and it's just different concept entirely. Like that's what mine would be.
Let's do let's cross over Sleepaway Camp and Malignant. Let's see what we get from that.
Okay. All right, fine. Oh boy. Let's see. Watched Marshmallow again last week. My roommate really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's one of those movies that feels, I think this is like the appropriate comparison. It feels like one of the best old school episodes of Goosebumps. Like it's like a really good episode. Because like I love the concept. It's a little sci-fi, it's a little horror, it's a little everything. It's got great feels.
Yeah, you can tell it feels like a Goosebumps. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Any of that was kind of a blueprint for an actual film, and it's got those twists and turns that we find really exciting or really scratch that itch of what we want. Because that was such a happy surprise. I loved the poster. I didn't know too much about that film going into it and didn't really know what to expect in terms of any sort of twist or any sort of narrative. I thought it was going to be a little more straightforward as we got into it. But I loved where they went with that film, and certainly shocking. Not like Sleepaway Camp shocking, but it's like, oh, that is a real fun twist of the film. So I love that aspect of not knowing what to expect, especially from directors we're not familiar with, And I'm certainly that's a director we have to circle back and see if we can get an interview with.
Get an
I'd
interview
love-
with.
Yeah,
I think we're emailing each other at one point.
we were.
So
Yeah, and then
we're gonna have to
fell by
follow
the
up.
wayside a little bit.
Yeah, but that's one we're gonna have to get back to him, because again, just like you said, I'd love to dive into that movie. Like, just for fun, if I had to put that into a box set, like a 2-pack, like a Walmart, $5 screen pack or whatever for the year, I would 100% put Summer of '84 and that in the same box set.
Oh, absolutely. Those are two fantastic films.
I
That
think
would be.
they just
That's
complement each other.
Yeah, they've such a similar vibe. Great, great character work from child heavy cast, and nothing disappoints in either of those films. So you kind of like looking at Summer of '84. I thought it was in for a basic story, which is kind of is to an extent, but by the time you get toward the end where they go, they really go dark with it within the last 10 minutes of that film.
A gut punch if you've ever had one, man. Like, it sucks, but I love it at the same time.
I think that's what really hammered that film home. I was having a great time with it. I love Turbo Kid as well, but like going to Summer '84, such a different vibe, and I was having a lot of fun with that film. I was like, okay, it's a little lighter tone, things like that, but then by the last 10 minutes, it's like, oh shit, they went for it, and it does hit. They end that thing with an exclamation point.
Let's see, Home Alone. Which one do you prefer, 1000 Maniacs or 2001 Maniacs? I've actually only seen 1000 Maniacs, so I guess I have to pick that one.
I actually haven't seen either. I'm gonna have to put them on the watch list here.
Yeah, they
are they like disturbing or anything, or
I wouldn't say they're like soup. They're like Rob Zombie level disturbing.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They go hard, but they're not like crazy. And the TG thing wouldn't matter. She can be TG and not matter. Just have her be forced into killing to protect herself, and have someone else be the actual killer to bring her being framed for it. Okay, so see, that's a way you could do it. I mean, definitely have it be like, yeah, she has to basically, maybe they're getting bullied for it. Like, if they're doing it modern, like, yeah, that would make sense. And then they, have, like she said, have to defend themselves. Like, that'd be interesting. It would definitely add almost like if you made it like an Eden Lake kind of deal, where it's just like you get real grimy with it. Oh no, let's go First Blood. Like, they're running out into the camp, and like they're like these bloodthirsty campers just trying to kill them because they think that they did something, like murdered one of their friends or something. Like, you get really dark with it. But I feel like they're going to try to keep it within the same tones, you know what I mean, of like that. Or like, I feel like it would be, I just don't get the sense from this one, for whatever reason, that this is going to be like an uber modern remake. I feel like they're gonna, especially with the original writer and director, I feel like he's gonna maybe lean into some of the like classic 80s nostalgia nature of it.
Yeah, I think obviously he's got a specific take that he wants to get out there and bring it into modern times. I don't know what to expect from the tone. I don't know necessarily if they're going to go like grimy with it at all. Just thinking of Kenan Thompson in the production company, they did Good Burger 2, and then they did
I got it on here. It's
they did another one that
12 projects
that was kind of like a comedy. Bill and Ted, right?
Yes.
Okay. They did one of the Bill and Teds, and so it's like I don't see that production company at least doubling down on something that's going to be real grimy, I guess, in terms of getting real brutal with it. So I don't know. I think maybe that take was more unique back in the 80s. And that discussion is being had more so in a bigger platform now. So maybe if you make that, rather than what you find out toward the end, it's something, an attribute of the character that we know either going in or we find out really early on, so that it's not that big, oh my gosh moment. And then we move on narrative wise, and that's where we're taking the twists and turns. Maybe we add in that element as a reasoning for something. But I don't know. I think we get certain comments on, especially when we look at the Neverland Nightmares, where there's certainly a discussion that's being had, a discourse that's being had about certain things that are going on, but I don't know necessarily if it's going to be as big of a oh my gosh moment, especially with some of the horror that we've seen over the past few years. So it might not pack as much punch. It might just be an actual part of the story, and then we move on to a deeper narrative. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it would just be one of those where it's like we'll know exactly what kind of movie we're getting once we see a trailer, obviously. But like, I think firmly if they decide to go pure shot for shot remake and that's going to be their twist, or they even try to use it, it will probably be forgettable and gone. But I think if they actually are trying to find a new in route, maybe like you said, that's a much more broad topic. It's something that's brought up a lot more than it was back in the 80s. So it's like, it's not necessarily shocking anymore. So it's like, what do you do next? And again, it's like they're in a hard position here because I don't think you have to go necessarily for like shocking, disturbing craziness. Is like, that's not what we're talking here. It's like, how do you catch us off guard again? Especially because with it being Sleepaway Camp, everybody's going to go in with their guard up. Nobody watches the first one without knowing the twist and has their guard up in that movie. It's like, oh, this is a Friday the 13th knockoff. And then it's like, whoa, that's crazy. That's a really interesting take.
Yeah. So I think they're going to look, obviously,
it's an uphill battle.
Yeah. They have to recreate that, that kind of hook in whatever kind of twist they're going to do. I don't think they're going to retread that twist. I think it's going to be an element in the story, but I don't think it's going to be that, oh my gosh, moment toward the end. And that's what they're going to leave us with. I think we'll get that element to it, and then maybe we just go into a deeper narrative of, I don't know, maybe it just becomes the motive, but with a character, and that's maybe all we get. But
yeah,
I what a time we are though, in terms of whatever the quality is going to be. We're getting Silent Night, Deadly Night, and then
we're getting Sleepaway Camp.
You know,
let's get the Burning. Somebody bring back the Burning. Let's give Cropsy another go. Like I'd
love to see a modern design on Cropsy.
Right? Yeah, like get real, like get like it doesn't even have to be Nicotero or anybody. Get like Jason Baker or somebody to come out and do some work on that. Like that'd be incredible. Like I'd love that. It's like I think there's a lot, and that's what I think a lot of people crave for these remakes. Like I know we were just talking about on Beyond the Splatter Graves this past week, we talked about Funhouse. I know we brought that up a lot here, but Funhouse, another one where it's like, I love that movie so much. Or Prophecy is another one. I love it so much, but would I like to see somebody like really cool that I like take a stab at it? Absolutely. Like, I think there are concepts that are just so rich. And I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, you did a remake, the franchise or the movie or the quality is ruined. It's like, hell no. Like I was born in the era of remakes. Like I'm ready for it. Like if you got a vision, I want to see it.
Yeah, I think there's only a handful of properties that are like, okay, if you're making a remake of this, it has to be good because the bar was set so high with the original. Sleepaway Camp's not on there for me. The Burning is not either. I think there's certainly room for improvement in those films and really kind of take it to the next level in terms of the narrative. So when we talk about these Shudder, Screambox, these straight to streaming services where it's like, hey, you pick up the Burning property. Maybe that's not going to be a big theatrical experience for anyone. It could be a Fathom event for 3 days, certainly. But, you know, you could do the Burning and have it live on Shudder. And I think people will be more than happy with that. Do some great practical effects for Cropsy. And, you know, people weren't happy with In a Violent Nature in that take there. But, you know, maybe we'll get something different for the sequel there. But who knows? But, you know, if you do something more pure slasher that say, yeah, we're not getting Friday the 13th right now, other than Angry Orchard promos or short films where you get something that's the Burning. That In a Violent Nature is a way to capitalize on that. And I think the Burning, I'm surprised the Burning has not been in talks to be remade, because that is feels like Friday the 13th. You could really
it's always on Tubi. It's like widely available. Scream Factory had made a Blu-ray version like 7-8 years ago that's still in print. So it's like you can get that movie anywhere. Everybody can watch that movie. I'm pretty sure. I know Gracie mentioned that Sleepaway Camp was free on YouTube. Like someone just had a version uploaded there. And like there's actually a lot of movies that do that, surprisingly. But it's one of those things where it's like I think like you can get access to this movie. There's people who know this character. It's like I think they'd be surprised if they actually took a stab at it, that like more people than you know would probably like respond to that. It's not like they're trying to remake Madman where it's like, oh, what is this? Like this, oh, that's like one that is a little bit more obscure, I'd say.
Yeah, I think so as well. But you know, I take a Madman remake. I think that can be interesting as well. You know, regardless, I think there are so many smaller properties out there that things like Toxie, this is such a turning point of a year, I feel, where having Silent Night, Deadly Night come out as well, where we're getting these properties that are known in the horror space, but were never mainstays in the horror space necessarily because they kind of got glossed over with, you know, another sequel of Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th, you know, running that through the 80s and then kind of just running on fumes in the 90s. So I think this could be a pivotal year, especially seeing how Silent Night, Deadly Night turns out in the theater and how fans respond to that and see who shows up for it, because that could just reignite a lot of these either B or C horror properties that we thought were just going to be dead in the water for so long. And then they just start getting scooped up and we start getting some new takes on it, which The Burning could easily fall in that category. I would love to see. That's a franchise. That is a film you can make a franchise into.
Yeah. That would be one. I think you and I would have a lot of fun if we ever had the opportunity to remake something. That would probably be on our short list of titles.
Absolutely.
Like I think we could. We've had similar ideas to just a camp slasher before, so it's like we could integrate so much into that. Like it'd be fun
as long as we can legitimately burn someone on film.
I'll do it. I'll do
Perfect.
it. I'll direct and star. I'll be like a whole Benny Safdie person, and I'll just go right into it.
Perfect. I want to get you in a green screen suit just cause, and then say
and then burn me in the green screen suit. All right. What's up, Nightmare File? What's going on? Prophecy scared the crap out of me when it came out. Oh yeah. That's one that I told a story about it in a video, a list of like animal attack movies. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I go into detail of my first time watching that, and it was definitely a mood setter. Made that one of my all-time favorites. Yep, absolutely. Certainly the sleeping bag scene. I really liked In a Violent Nature. I'm looking forward to the sequel if it ever comes out. Yes, it is coming, and absolutely awesome. Will they have another goofy sheriff? Well, maybe, probably. So slow, so boring. One good kill. Yawn. Two. Don't hate me. Well, sorry, Erica, but you've been demoted now. I'm sorry. I can't kick you off the screen like I do everybody else. So shame. No, I'm kidding. It's fine. I totally understand if that's not anybody's cup of tea. Because like, even for me, I love the movie, but the last 10 minutes are just boring. I'm sorry. I get the message. I do. I understand what they're doing.
No, you don't understand it, Dylan.
I don't need my handheld. I get what it's too on the nose to not like will it grow on me? Maybe, but it's just one of those things for me where it's like I loved everything up until that point, basically. So, yeah. And I don't even hate the ending. Like, I think it just went too long. Like, it's just like they could have cut it like maybe 3 minutes shorter and it would have been fine. Like,
yeah, I think you get your point across way early in what that film ends up being. You know,
the final shot's awesome. Like,
yeah,
because when you see what she does and where she leaves it, and then you see it's gone, it's like, I love that. But we didn't need the 6-minute monologue before that. Like,
it comes off way too heavy-handed. We understand we're digesting everything way early, and then we still have 3 minutes of dialogue. And I'm like, okay, we've gotten the point. We don't need to stay in the scene that long. But, you know, a lot of people in our comments on that video just told us we didn't get it.
Yeah.
Dylan, come on. We still don't understand it.
And I get, like, I don't hate Gracie. I completely understand. Like, there's movies I love that people hate, and like there's certain moments, like I was one of the very few people I feel like in the United States at least to walk out of the theater on The Witch. I know for my theater experience I was the only one who walked out saying I enjoyed that, and that was one of the rare times where it's like I went with a group of friends, everybody was like just talking about it with the couple of other random people we were in there with. We were all walking out of the hallway and just like everybody just voiced their opinion, and I was just like, I liked it. It was like, all right, but the years have been kinder to me because I know a lot more Witch fans now than I did. But yeah, no. Oh, then I did want to highlight this one. Mama Mayhem says, there are so many remakes and so many sci-fi slop sequels that get progressively worse and worse. I want mind-blowing original movies. Absolutely. 100% behind that. I'm always interested, like I said, if I can see somebody with, I like the idea of kind of what our next story we'll touch on a little bit, of somebody coming out with an original mind-blowing property, and maybe they have one or two films and then they attach themselves to something bigger or remaking something, because at least I know I can trust their vision, and I'd be curious to see what they're doing to said property.
And I used to have a real sour taste about remakes when they would come out, and I think I'm still lukewarm on them. I never like 100% like excited to see a remake come out, but I think it depends on the property, because something like a Friday the 13th, a Nightmare on Elm Street, that lore is put on a pedestal where we have to have Jason's backstory, we have to have Freddy's backstory. It has to match up to a Robert Englund performance. You have to have the tone, the feeling that you get in the final chapter, or Jason Lives, things like that. And it becomes almost too hard to successfully make that remake, because everyone looks at the lore that's been established over 8 films and they want it all, and it's like, well, it kind of progressively happened throughout each of those films. And then you can kind of put it in a bundle and say, this is Friday the 13th. Where you look at something like a smaller property like The Burning, or even Sleepaway Camp, I think, where you have, that's a franchise, but I mean, 2 and 3 and where they go on is kind of like, okay, it doesn't have this expansive lore that's put on a pedestal, where those have more wiggle room, I think, where you can kind of just have fun with it. You can take the ideas, the blueprint of the original film, make it your own. And I think that's the biggest thing about a remake, is you don't need anything verbatim. And I think you just need to use it as a blueprint. You need to find your voice in a film like that and just do something different. And I think that's where it becomes difficult, where you look at a Friday 13th, because you certainly want something original, but then you also want something akin to what you've seen before. And it becomes almost this tug of war if you don't really know how to feel about it. Like the remake of Friday the 13th, where Dylan and I talk about it on the channel, where like the first 20 minutes of that cold open there that they do is fantastic. I think either the film itself is okay, but the first 20 minutes feels
I wholeheartedly love that film. So fuck off, Luke. No, I agree. I it's another one where it's like, I get if people love that opening and then are like, the rest of the movie is it still has a special place in my heart. It's one of those ones that gets bonus points just because it had such a big effect on me. But at the end of the day, I think, like, of all of those remakes that really are just doing the originals or slamming 4 or 5 sequels together, it's not the worst. I've seen worse done. We all have. Nightmare on Elm Street 2010, just saying. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, I get it. And I agree with you, where it's like, we need to start looking at stuff that's off the, like, not something like that's just going to be a retread. Like, see, Mama Mayhem here says, there are definitely some great remakes, but there's also a lot of tired, rehash, uninspired crap out there. Yeah. I mean, we're in the midst of a trilogy that does that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, doing that right now. And it's, it sucks, but it's like, for every like couple of those, I feel like we do get some really solid ones. And maybe I'm just defensive on remakes a little bit more, because my favorite horror film of all time, it's a remake. The Thing, John Carpenter. Like, I got to at that point, you know what I mean? Like, I have to sit there and say that, like, if I was poo-pooing remakes and said they should never exist, my favorite horror film ever would never be a thing. And I can't have that.
And see, and that's where you look at where I say things should be looked at as a blueprint, where you look at the source material for The Thing, who goes there, and then the film, was it a 60s film, I think? Isn't that correct?
60s, 50s, I think. I think it's 50s. Earlier than that, isn't it?
I'm not sure. I don't know if it goes earlier than the 50s, but While you look that up, but then you jump to John Carpenter's The Thing, and it's
1951.
51. Okay, and where you look at those films, and they all feel it's all different in terms of that source material, where you're taking the blueprint, and at the time, The Thing from Another Planet, I don't think was as put on a pedestal for when John Carpenter's film came out. So he kind of used it as a source material, but then went off and did his own thing without having that expectation. And I think sometimes with the way media lives on nowadays, where, hey, we always digest Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, those things are so recent to us because we can watch those at our leisure that they are put on a pedestal, even though they came out 20 plus years ago, that they are vital in our horror experience monthly, weekly, really, in where you're so refreshed on those films that you're maybe on guard if you love Halloween and a new Halloween film's coming out, because you need it to live up to what you've seen.
You'll always have that, I feel like, with any big property, but like, you're right. Because I mean, like, even The Thing from Another World, I'm pretty sure it was one of Carpenter's favorites. It was, it had its time. It was a big one for when it came out, but it wasn't like people were breaking down the door at, Universal saying, hey, can we remake this? It was kind of like they floated it and he was like, oh, that's in your catalog, I'd love to do that. Like, and that was just because he loved the movie growing up.
Yeah. And I think when you look at, and you're going to have those, it's unavoidable where there are people, you're already going to have people on guard with those properties that we hold near and dear. So I think looking at remakes, it's obviously use it as a blueprint, try to come up with your own story, but I think it's more acceptable or digestible in a sense, I guess you'd say, if it's a property that it's like, it was The Burning. It came out in the 80s. We haven't had anything after that initial film. I'm open to a remake. And I think maybe tackle those types of films before you start getting into, I'm going to contradict myself because I want another Friday 13th. And
so does everybody. But like, yeah, I get what you're saying. You want a quality Friday the 13th. You don't just want somebody basically like what we just had, where it's like we're making a beer commercial with it. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want that. We want somebody, hopefully what's going on with Crystal Lake, which I did not skip that. Stephanie, I did peep your question. Yes, they are making a series, and it's actually getting quite a lot done. We've seen a lot of set photos, and seems like they're really making progress. So I think by next October we'll have that series.
Fingers crossed. I mean, we're more than ready for it. So
yep, that'll be like the first legitimate piece of Friday the 13th content that I think we've gotten since all this. So
yeah, I mean, Sweet Revenge did not scratch the itch that we wanted it to. So
it's my favorite.
Well, you love Angry Orchard.
I do. Can't get enough of them apples.
It worked.
How you like them apples? What's up? This is great. Splattermen should remake Food of the Gods. Be made if they were serious about making it terrifying. Difficult to make, but I hope they do. Do you know about Food of the Gods, Luke?
I do not.
Oh, okay. This is one I remember watching this with my grandparents on, I think, Sci-Fi Channel. If this is the one I'm thinking of. Yes, it is. So this is a movie. I'll just read the kind of thing. You would totally love this idea, and I bet you we would have a lot of fun writing this, because we've written stuff like vaguely similar to it. But there's also a lot of nods to other things that we like, other properties, I should say. When a strange edible substance appears on a remote island, local farmer Mr. Skinner and his wife deem it a blessing and feed it to their farm animals. Soon, other wildlife, such as rodents, insects, have eaten the food, which makes anything that consumes it grow in size. These gigantic beasts start terrorizing the island, with an athlete named Morgan among those who are fighting for their lives against the gargantuous creatures.
I'm excited for that, actually. I would I would be more than happy to take a crack at that film. Anything like The Blob, the stuff, anything like that? I mean,
It's exactly like the stuff. Like
um,
it's so good. But then like, dude, like it's cheesy as hell, but like it's from the 70s, so it doesn't look too bad. But like the giant rats and stuff, and they do a lot of forced perspective with like a lot of rotoscoping. So they'll like build a miniature of the house and have the rats like running through it, and then they'll like superimpose people or the animals in there. And it looks a little goofy, but it is pretty great.
I would be excited, and these are the exact properties that need remakes. Actually, like stuff that has been it's not at the forefront of a lot of horror fans, where some are aware, but a lot it would be a
Yes.
fresh take on something like that. So, I think this type of property, and hey, I would love a crack at this. I would be excited to write a script about this any day. Because it could be so much fun, and it has so much potential that I'm sure that they left on the table for this being. When did this come out? I'm assuming what
This was 1976.
early 76. Okay, so even better, where it's like I'm sure they left a lot on the table of not being able to achieve certain scenes, things like that, and it would easily make a case to take from a mid 70s film and then putting it into more modern times.
Yeah, and then they brought up Squirm here. That's another good one. If I have not seen this one, but it's on my list of things to watch, but it just sounds wild. A storm causes some power lines to break and touch the ground, drawing millions of man-eating worms out of the earth into the town, where they quickly start munching on locals. Like, I mean, what a funny and awesome and weird idea. You know what I mean? Like, these are the kind of movies, like, this is like how Marshmallow feels.
Yes.
Where it's like just this off the wall, off the beaten path, just strange, out there kind of, again, half science fiction, half horror idea. I love it. I'm so about it. Like it's one of those where it's like I'd love to do that.
That's where when I did the underrated creatures list I did almost a year ago, and I never watched the film Mosquito that came out in the mid 90s.
Oh yeah.
And then I had actually watched that one. I was like, this is kind of a really fun film. That is a film that could easily be taken and made into a more modern remake. I think, practical effects, things like that, when you have to be so in depth, but you just could have some fun with it. Put in some comedy and then some deep rooted horror tones and make it real gross. There's a real gross scene in Mosquito that I absolutely love, but really double down on some of those effects and things like that. Those are the properties that I think we need to see remakes of.
Absolutely. 100%. Well, I do want to touch on, since I hinted at it, that last story you have queued up there, even if we have to make it kind of quick. But do you want to throw us in there real quick?
Absolutely. Well, we were talking about remakes, but we can talk about sequels that are going to be coming out. We did touch on it. Was it last Sunday Scaries, actually? Fede Alvarez is not going to be coming back to direct the sequel for Alien Romulus, and we didn't know who could be potentially directing it. Now, he hinted at maybe potentially Damien Rugna coming out and directing. And now that could be rather interesting. There's a script written from Fede already, and so he would be directing from that script, which Fede Alvarez did say he wanted to make sure they didn't give those characters the Alien 3 treatment and have them killed off at the very beginning, because he wanted to see those characters live on and have some sort of story. So he made sure he wanted to write that script. But Damien Rugna, that could be a really interesting pick to direct the next Alien Romulus.
This is what I'm talking about, people. This is the kind of announcement that I want to hear. The guy who did Terrified and When Evil Lurks, doing an Alien movie written by Fede Alvarez, which, if you hated Romulus, I'm sorry. I'm just not in that camp with you. I loved it. I'm ready for it. I think that if anybody is going to kind of tackle this and bring some true terror back to it, which I thought Fede Alvarez brought a lot of it, but he also did a lot of, like, more than I expected with the world building and really tying things together in a very satisfying way, that I feel like Damien Rugna now is going to be able to bring something vicious to this. And the only thing that makes me nervous is him being someone, obviously, who was a filmmaker from Argentina. His films are not huge. I'm afraid that a studio might try to bully him if they don't like some of the subject matter he tackles. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, because he's obviously, if you've seen his other two movies, you know he goes fucking hard with the gore and the horror and the shocking imagery, and he does it in some of the best way because he always backs it up with great lore, great characters, and interesting plots. So all good stuff. I just hope that like people like Fede Alvarez and his team can keep him kind of, you know, insulated from any studio meddling.
Yeah, and I think that could be, at least we have already a script in place from Fede Alvarez to kind of work from there. So I think at least he would be able to have some say in terms of what he wants that sequel to look like. And I think having his backing, especially if Damien Rigdon's like handpicked from him to say this is the guy that needs to tell the sequel to this story, I think he could have some leeway, especially highly regarded that Terrified and When Evil Lurks. Yeah, they're smaller films, but in the horror space, those are always in the conversation of some of the best modern horror in the past decade. So I think, you know, he comes in with a bit of a name, even though the resume is not long in terms of, you know, how many prevalent films that he's had. But I think they pack enough punch that, especially when you're looking at an alien film, you want to feel unsettled. And I loved Alien Romulus. I don't know necessarily. I felt more of a threat from the facehuggers, and you know, so I don't remember being at complete unease. I was more engaged in that film and just being able to soak that film in and get what I wanted from an Alien franchise film. So I would love for him to come in and make me feel unsettled. And I think Damien Regna can easily do that.
Yeah, especially with the ideas that Fede was playing with at the end of that movie. Like putting someone like Damien Rugna in there to expound upon things like the abomination and bring us more imagery of the black goo and what it does and how it resynthesizes and rebuilds, you know, like a creature like that. Like, he is the perfect person, I think, for that right now. Like, I couldn't think of a person more fit for this franchise that I would feel really good about. Now, there's a handful of franchises I want him to get involved with, but like Alien would have been in my top 3. I mean, obviously, you know that it's coming eventually. They're talking about doing another adaptation of The Thing, just going more towards the novel. So I would be more than happy if he did something like that. But like, it's just one of those where I feel like this would be an excellent way to pass off the torch. Now, there's a couple of good comments here I do want to highlight. Robert says, I'm afraid if he goes Hollywood, he'll never go back to movies like Terrified or When Evil Lurks. That's my fear. Now, I see why you would be afraid of that. I do want to say, though, that like, I think that time, that era is starting to kind of whittle away a little bit because so many people rely on streaming now. And when you have companies like Shudder and IFC who are willing to put up a little bit of money to help get visions across the board, and, you know, Damien Rugna is somebody who is very open that he really loves to write and direct his own stuff. It's one of those where it's like, I think that he's always going to have that drive. And as long as, in the eyes of a studio, this next Alien movie, if he is directing it, is successful monetarily, then he's good. He's good until he drops a handful of bombs. So, you know, he's already got a lot of support from the horror community. He's already got 2 films that are both very highly rated when you look at them, when you look them up on IMDb and stuff, by just general population. So if he knocks it out of the park, at least for a majority, I think that he could be pretty safe. And I think he would still make original horror. Because, I mean, you got to look at like Scott Derrickson. He, you know, made Sinister and then went on to do Doctor Strange, and then he came back and did The Black Phone. So it's one of those things where it's like, I know he had a couple other movies in between there, but like, you know, he's somebody who still hasn't forgotten his roots, I guess I should say.
I think there is more versatility in a lot of the creatives nowadays, because there isn't necessarily one game in town where you can kind of pivot back and forth. If someone's not doing, was it Mike Flanagan? Where'd he go from Netflix to, where's he at now? It's an Amazon, you know, where it's like you can kind of jump. It's about the name. I think Damien Regna is honestly garnering himself such a name with the 2 films that he's had, especially if he jumps on Alien Romulus. I think it's going to give him the leeway to pretty much do anything that he wants. And I know
shit. Oh my God. No, continue. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
and he's already talked about, having a script written for When Evil Lurks too, and kind of having to make a couple edits on that. So even if he does Alien Romulus, I could easily see him, revisiting When Evil Lurks and really going into what makes his original property scary. I think that's not going to fall by the wayside. I think he could be a person we see do a franchise film and then hop back into 2 original films and then hop into another franchise film. I think Damien Rugna is going to be around for a very long time.
Oh, he better be, dude.
Films.
I'll fucking crowdfund whatever he's got going on next. At this point, I'll make a donation every paycheck if we have to.
And I
love those 2 movies that much.
And I think a lot of people are in that camp, and that's what I mean. Where we have the versatility of these creatives to say, if the studio's not going to make it, let's crowdfund it. And you have someone like Damien Rugna trying to make a crowdfunded film. How many people are going to donate to that and be like, hey, you want another When Evil Lurks or another Terrified? We're just in such a different place now where those films can get made by someone who wants to get them made and not have to abide by certain studio things. But especially nowadays, it doesn't feel like a director's making a horror film. It feels like a horror fan is directing a horror film in a lot of these properties.
Agreed. Now, I said, oh shit, because Necro has been watching us, or at least has gotten to know me all too well, because he knows that I'm a big fan of Denis Villeneuve. And this Alien Trilogy with Sydney Sweeney, hey, that's a plus. I think she's great and immaculate, and obviously a very good looking lady. But just him tackling that material, he's already proved that he can do Dune, which is kind of like the backbone of most modern sci-fi. I think he could totally knock it out of the park. I mean, let's not forget he also did another Ridley Scott property with Blade Runner, and in my opinion surpassed the first film. And I love the first movie. I have a tattoo for it, but it's one of those things where it's I adore Blade Runner, and he just made a sequel that I think about that movie very fondly. It's that, Sicario, and a few other films from his repertoire that I think about constantly on a daily basis.
I mean, I think you have a handful of directors that you just throw them into any sort of property and they're going to thrive. Denis Villeneuve is easily one of those.
He's doing directors. Bond, which I'm super excited to see his take on a spy film. Holy shit.
He's a director that I don't even need to know what story he's telling. Just tell me when the story's dropping and I'll go in cold, because I know there's going to be such quality to whatever story that he's telling that I'm going to be immersed in that experience. I would love to see him playing the alien world, because he's like a Damien Rugna, where he's got those elements that you feel can unsettle you. And I think that would be interesting. I think that could be a very thorough take, I guess, where there's going to be quality through and through. It just puts you at ease. And it could be interesting. I don't know if honestly, I was surprised that Damien Rugna was attached. When we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned a couple of smaller names because I didn't know if they were ever going to, be able to attach a bigger name to it. And,
I think it, just before I forget, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think it just comes from the fact that you have somebody like Fede Alvarez being able to call some shots, because he seems like somebody who's tapped in to the horror community. And I'm sure he saw When Evil Lurks the same time we all did and probably absolutely raved it. He probably loved Terrified. So it's one of those things where I bet you he's been in contact with him for probably way before this opportunity even arose.
Yeah, 100%. I think because Fede Alvarez had come out and said that, it was never his intention to do the sequel. So I could easily, there's no way he was not thinking in his head, what is the next play for Alien Romulus? Yes, I want to write it, but who's going to be the next director? I would guarantee that even before Alien Romulus had finished production, that he already had Damien Rugna pegged for the guy, his choice,
his short list. Yeah, 100%. Because it's I respect it, even though I'm a little disappointed because I want Fede Alvarez to obviously continue to play in this world. I enjoyed his movie, And I think he will return to it. I think he will come back, whether it's for this or as him and his he said his buddy, his good friend, Dan Trachtenberg, at least coming back in a producing or a writing standpoint for an AVP film. I think he's all over that. And again, I think he would be, I think of all of the directors, I think it's up to him, or of all the people who've been involved recently, I think it's up to him or Dan Trachtenberg, if not together, to do a proper Alien versus Predator film. I think you're going to have one of those two tackling that. And I think it's just because, again, Fede Alvarez is such an established name, not just with horror, but just with the film industry. He's somebody who has had a lot of successes. I really think the only film that didn't perform that well for him was the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo sequel. Yeah. That was kind of like a reboot sequel. So it's one of those things where it's like that movie was already kind of hard to sell at the beginning, but the dude doesn't miss. So yeah, I kind of think like that's where we're going to end up with this. So, but I'm glad that we have somebody like with their hand on the pulse being like, hey, these are the people we need, like a Damien Rugna shepherding these franchises.
Yeah, it feels like there is a quality assurance there, you know, where it's like we're not just throwing anyone out there to get the next Alien property, the next Predator property out there in the theater and have people show up. Who cares if it's quality or not? We just want to get their money. And it really feels like they have a clear direction for both these franchises where they're going to inevitably meet. And I think it's going to be quality. I love the names that are attached to a lot of this reigniting of both franchises, because it seems like they all have, the creatives attached have a lot of love for the lore and what has come before it. And I could easily see them sticking around to shepherd in, you know, an AVP film and kind of have a clear direction of if they want to continue a franchise like that, where that's going to go and make it make sense and have some sort of quality to it. So none of the fans are walking out saying, what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah, the only two names I want to see attached to either a Predator or an Alien film going forward, besides the ones we have and that are floating around right now, I know one of them is very likely because they're good friends, and that's Alexander Aja. I'd love to see him tackle an Alien movie. I think that he's got a very unique perspective, especially if it's like on a planet of some sort. And it's not on like a ship where it's more fast paced. I think he could do stuff with that. But I also really want to see Greg McLean do a Predator movie. I think he could do a really good Predator movie.
Maybe a Predator with an Australian accent. Can we?
John Jarrett is the Predator. Let's go, baby.
He'll have the hat on, and
I'm a big Greg McLean supporter, though. I volunteer him for just about every other movie. So,
I mean,
I just like what he does.
Yeah, he's an expert at knowing what makes people tick. So, you know, the brutality's there.
Yep, and I think like his resume is just perfect with the whole Rogue is like good, dumb fun, but it also is pretty scary and intense and a really well-made movie. And then like the Wolf Creek movies are like intense, grueling. The second one's a little more fun, but like the first one is fucking brutal. So it's like, you know, he's got that dark side to him, and I think he can kind of navigate both sides.
He's got a great psychology to his films. I mean, there's a lot of physical brutality to his films, and I think maybe that gets talked about a little bit more. But when you actually watch those films and understand the psychological aspects of those films, they're absolutely terrifying.
I think the best scene he's ever directed is that conversation scene at the end of Wolf Creek 2.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I love when they're just going back and forth on each other.
I watched that film. I did it for this past list, and I hadn't watched Wolf Creek 2 in a very long time. And I love the way that they are just playing off each other. I love the psychological roller coaster that you go on. I love that Mick Taylor's almost soaking in. I'm forgetting the other character's name, but he's almost like taking in, putting you at ease. Mick Taylor's like a guy that I want him to like me, even though I know he's going to kick my ass shortly afterward. I don't know. He's got this charisma about him that I love, that you're always on guard, where you want to love him, and you do love him for a very short moment before he's doing something completely despicable in that next scene. It's like a perfect portrayal of a serial killer.
Oh, I completely agree. Arnie's coming back for a new Predator film. Yeah, they did add him to the end of that one, and I think that he'll have They said he has some kind of a way to bring him and why am I forgetting the director's name? Murtaugh.
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. Yeah,
Right.
they're gonna bring him back. I definitely think it's gonna be for like not a Badlands, a Killer Be Killed style animated project. I think we're gonna see more of that world, which I'm excited for. I'm ready to see that. Is Kenan Thompson gonna make his Sleepaway Camp movie a comedy? I don't think so. I think after our conversation, I could see them being a little bit more faithful. I think it'll be funnier than we're expecting, or funnier than we're expecting, but I think it will be a little bit more true to what the original was. I hope.
Yeah, we talked about Anaconda having raunchy comedy. I don't know. I can see Sleepaway Camp pushing that envelope.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna have to lose that chef character, I think. So,
oh yes, please.
You're gonna have to,
no PDF files, please. Don't bring those back. Like we're good.
You're gonna have to.
It's weird.
You're gonna have to have that weird comical aspect, I think, to a certain extent. So I think I could easily seeing that being implemented and kind of having a little bit of a raunchiness, never getting to what we do get with the other Sleepaway Camp films and how kind of distasteful it becomes, but kind of pushing an envelope a little bit, having those undertones, not a pure comedy, but having those comical elements to it that kind of put you off guard a little bit before you get into some of the other subject matter.
Yeah, it's like my lines with that subject matter. There are movies that have elements of that, especially when they're really reserved and pulled back, and it's all a lot of like, they're more or less just hinting towards stuff, or they tastefully kind of integrate it through like testimony and stuff like that. Like I think that's really well done, and that's a really like great way to sicken and terrify an audience with subject matter like that without having to show them stuff like that. And then you have movies like some of the ones that are on my I've only ever going to watch them once kind of movies, like where they really harp on it, especially like child abduction stuff, where it's like that's tough and I probably won't watch it. But where Sleepaway Camp goes is just like it's just the grimy underbelly grossness of it, where it's just like you don't see anything but it's just the character, the way he talks, the way he acts. It's just like
the implication.
Yes, it's disgusting. It's just that's the kind of I'm like, fuck that, ew.
Yeah, you have that grossness to it. Definitely an unsettling aspect to that film and just that character in general. So I don't know. I think there'll be comedy elements. I think there'll be some off-putting comedy is probably the place that they want to put us in for a Sleepaway Camp remake. It's not going to be like Good Burger humor.
Yeah, let's hope not. Sleepaway Camp with Good Burger humor. That's wild. Let's see. Oh, Wolf Creek gave me trauma. I definitely can. Head on a stick, absolutely. Literally too scared to watch Wolf Creek 2. Hey, I will say, and Luke, if you think that I'm leading her in a bad direction here, I do want to say I think you will enjoy Wolf Creek 2 more because there's a little bit more of like a slasher element to it. But there's a handful of scenes, though, one involving a couple, that I will say that's a little that's pretty fucking memorable. That scene, that one doesn't leave your mind anytime soon. That's really traumatizing shit.
Yeah, I think the scene that's in the desert with the couple, that'll certainly give you trauma from a disturbing aspect. Other than that, I think there's a lot of fun gore in the film. I mean, John Jarrett's a fantastic portrayal, has a lot of great one-liners.
He really becomes the character of John Jarrett's Mick Taylor. He like in the first film, it's so realistic.
Yeah, with
their portrayal. This one, they're really leaning into he's been doing this a while, and he's like notorious now.
And that's where it's like I had done an interview with Jason Baker on The Jester 2, and I was kind of talking about the tone of what that sequel is, and I brought up Child's Play, and I love the original Child's Play, but I think Child's Play 2 was the one that I had watched. That's kind of my definitive Chucky film, and I really feel like Child's Play 2 is where they opened up that character a little bit more. It really became that focus with Chucky a little bit more, and we start seeing that charisma. I think Wolf Creek 2 with Mick Taylor's like that as well, where we're getting more with that character. He knows how to portray him. It certainly has a seriousness to it, but it also has a funness to it with some of the line delivery and just kind of what he does non-verbally, I think is really where that character opens up a little bit more.
Absolutely. Well, I do want to admit something. I totally forgot we were supposed to review those two movies. So we went into the last news story, and I didn't realize until maybe 5 minutes ago. I'm like, oh shit! Like we still have to talk about those. So I'm gonna pitch something because this is Adrian's redemption shot as well, or Bottom Guy's redemption shot. What if we just roll over and talk about all three, and we'll only do two news stories next week?
That works for me.
Because then Adrian
100%.
can catch up. That gives everybody here a chance if they haven't seen them or didn't watch them. And then the people who've already watched it, you only have to watch the next one anyway. So, it's like we're going to go right into 94 after viral, isn't it?
I believe
94,
so.
95, 85. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like, yeah, that would give us a chance. So Adrian will have 3 movies to watch, and then, we can all kind of roll over into that. So
You'll certainly need a palate cleanser after viral. So
yeah, I think you're going to like 94 though.
that's what that's what I mean. Like after viral, I'll probably like almost anything that you throw at me.
Yeah. And then, okay, I'm going to say one title, and I just want like just give me like a very vague yay or nay, whether it was if it lived up to the hype. Safe Haven. That's from 2.
Hold on. Let me scroll real quick. Just give me 1 second.
Gareth, it's
Oh!
yes.
Yay.
Isn't that a crazy fucking sketch?
Love it. I fucking love it.
I want a full-blown version of that. It's so good. Adrian, I'm excited for you to check these out. They're
Me
really
too.
good.
My fiance thinks they're snuff films still, so
they're not. She's thinking of the Poughkeepsie tapes.
Ooh. I mean, I thought those were pretty cool,
or Snuff 102 or Snuff 101. They're not great. Yeah, the 94, 99 because of Jake. Yep. Jake's a huge fan. I can say this now because I don't think we'll get in trouble for it, but I let Jake last year for Beyond. We may have made something happen so he could check that out, because I tried to get him looped in for a screener because we were at Fantastic Fest and we got it. He couldn't get it, but he's such a big fan that I was just like, we'll make this happen. So he ended up getting to see it, and he still is super humble and grateful about that. And I'm just like, if I can make it so you can see a franchise that you love early, I think it's just good karma, because it's like, I love when that shit happens. Like, how excited we get when we get shit like Bring Her Back and Alien Romulus and all this stuff. Like, we get to see that stuff like even just a day or two early. It's like, oh fuck, I'm just such a movie fan. So
yeah, I mean, we're a community here. I mean, come on. So Jake is fantastic. What a great guy, and Dell and I were just talking about it, where he had asked me how long we've known Jake, since just our first interaction with him. And it's been over a year now, just over a year.
Oh yeah. We were talking about that we were in Cleveland. We went to the Winking Lizard when we were hanging out with Evan, and we were talking about that, how it's like, it feels like we've known Jake forever, but really we've only known him for like a little over a year. It's like, that's crazy. I feel like we've literally been with Jake for like half of our experience on YouTube.
Yeah, no, and I think it's just because of all those interactions. I mean, doing the spoiler stuff, actually, he was the first person we had met at, from doing this
in person.
Yeah, in person.
He lives close to us, so it's like, that was wild.
That was a happy accident too. We were on that stream and just realized we were like 45 minutes away from each other as we're on the stream.
Yeah. I like Scary, the guy we had on for Beyond the Splatter Graves. He's from Cincinnati. So
really?
So it's one of those things where we were like, and he's met up with Jake, so we're gonna have to meet up with him. He's a super cool dude. His name's Brandon. He's awesome. We're gonna have him on as a Sunday Scaries guest eventually, because he's a super cool dude. So
yeah, we should do a lineup for October. Actually,
I was thinking about that too. Look at that, guys. We're already thinking ahead here. But yeah, I see the love for VHS 94. Believe me, I understand. 94. Beyond and 2 are like kind of top 3 for me, I would say, out of this. But I'm rewatching these with you guys, so we'll see. I'll give my final rankings once we go through, and Adrian will have some time to catch up. That's right. Yeah, Stephanie said she's near Dayton.
Oh wow!
I know we have a few fans. We have someone who's from Canton, someone who has family that live in Canton. I know a couple people have commented, said they've literally seen us out and about, but they didn't know it was us. So it's like,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have never been approached, which if you ever want to, that's cool. I won't freak out or anything. I'm a little scary out in public, but I'm usually pretty reasonable. So
I can possibly vomit when I'm in new human experiences, but it only lasts for about 2 minutes. So just bear with me, and I'm golden.
Stork is so good from Beyond.
Stork is fantastic. Oh my
what
gosh.
a wild one! What a wild one!
Beyond was that? I can't remember if I watched VHS prior to Beyond or I just.
I think you said that you had seen the first one.
Okay,
and that was it.
And then going into Beyond, my gosh, what a great experience that was. And I honestly, I love VHS too. Just spoiler for next week, Viral wasn't vibing it, but I'm excited to see what 94 has in store, because I know some of these we get into higher quality stuff, and it looks like what 94. I know Adrian, you're asking too. Before we hopped on here, it looks like 94 is on Tubi, so a lot of these are on Tubi in case you check them out.
Yeah,
right.
It's either Tubi or worst case we'll get you into our Shudder, so that way you can watch it, because I think they're all on Shudder. I'm pretty sure, because they do the premieres and stuff. So, is VHS the longest running anthology series? I don't know. Maybe by installments. Maybe you could qualify that. But like, if we're talking like just property in general, there's been longer. I mean, technically Creepshow is still a thing because of the series. So even though I know that's ended, but they'll always be bringing it back. But like, if you're talking entries, I think so. It's up there.
Yeah, it seems like they have a handle, at least on the VHS franchise, of what it should be now. It looks like from Viral to 94, they took a pretty decent break, which I totally understand why. But it seems like they're taking advantage of the concept, either having established creatives or new and up and coming creatives having an anthology in the series to kind of get a spotlight on them. And I love that aspect of it. And I think this one is probably the most conducive to the horror space in terms of anthologies, and really crafting that dynamic of what it should be and what it should do for the betterment of the horror genre in general. I think, because I think looking more so into this as I go through these, as these are fresh watches for me, and being like, looking at the hindsight of, this person's done this since VHS, and
that's the best part, is seeing all the names, like going through that first film.
Yeah,
like I think even everybody who like wrote it has made some kind of big horror movie recently.
Yeah, and I think it's like being able to see it and knowing that VHS opened up some doors for people. That series is doing what it should be doing, and I love that, because there's nothing that, at least I can think of in my head, that has done that in terms of being able to create these opportunities. And still a long-standing franchise of, hey, we're getting into Halloween now, and it's like, I'm excited to see if we're going to continue these holidays. And
brother, if we don't get a VHS Christmas, I will poop. I'll do it right in the chair.
I like it. Well, I hope we don't get it now, just because we all have our fetishes.
Oh my god, it's I'm hoping and praying that we get like Christmas. I don't know what the next holiday would be like. Shit, I would be fine if they did like a summer vacation one. Like,
I really want a Valentine's Day. It would be fun.
That would be
Easter
great.
would be a good one, because there's not a lot of Easter horror out there. Groundhog Day.
Just everybody's repeating everything. Oh god. Yeah, I would cry with happiness if they turned Stork into a full-length movie. I mean, yeah, dude, like I love that director too. So it's like there's some of those things where it's like they could really take some of these, especially I think the one Luke just watched, Safe Haven. Man, I'd love to see that concept expanded upon.
That would be so much fun. Terrifying, but fun.
Oh yeah. All righty. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up here, guys. Thank you so much for bearing with us all last week again. It means the world to me that, we can do this and not have to worry, like, when shit happens and our houses are falling apart and we're having some family stuff with some health stuff. It's some of those things where it's like, I am very grateful that there's still people who, you know, are watching our stuff, still supporting it. Cause like, that's the scariest part about this is like, again, if you even fall off the ball or if you fall out of your cycle, you know, even for like a couple of days, sometimes YouTube can be pretty grueling with just like how it punishes you with your reach and your views, and it can make it kind of difficult. So the fact that, you know, you guys were able to stick with us, I deeply appreciate it. I'm sorry, Kiki. No, I missed it. Adopting a kitten made me miss the live. Hey, well, you enjoy your kitten. All right. You got priorities right now. You got to be spending some time with that little fur baby. I love my cats. Every time we got, I've had 3 of them out of the 4 as kittens, and they were all just, they're precious. You know, it's like having a little child. Like, you know, they're precious when they're tiny.
You know, we're sorry you missed us here. We'll be back next week, but Dylan and I, Adrian as well, we're all animal lovers on this side of things. So, I mean, you're doing good. Adopting is a wonderful thing. So, you're certainly doing your part. So, gold star for the day, and we'll be back next week. Make sure you drop a question, any questions, we'll make sure to answer them next week.
Absolutely. And thank you, Mama Mayhem. Absolutely agree. We all stick together. And love my cat too, Kiwi. Awesome. And then Violet, yes, thank you so much. I hope so too. This week is, I told my wife today, this week it's all just creativity and just letting my brain run. I got a couple of fun ideas. One, like I said, that I already kind of have everything ready to go for. I just have to, you know, start editing it and putting it together. And then the next one is going to be one I developed while I was, you know, frustrated and upset this past week. Just like sitting there, I just like got an idea and started typing some stuff out, and I think it's going to be fun. So
it's the it's 5 most disturbing water heater moments.
Yes. Yep. Moments involving water heaters.
He filmed
projects.
He filmed himself the entire process of trying to put this together, so it's like 5 of his personal disturbing moments that we're going to be reliving.
Yeah, the couple of blisters I gave myself and shit like that, just from like not properly like you moving pipes and stuff. Like, oh my god. Some parts of that were so simple, it made the really difficult ones, because like, not to just ramble and stuff, what really hung me up was some bad advice I got on my gas line, and that really fucked me up. So I had to
nothing can go bad when you're dealing with gas, though,
right? Yeah, that's why it's like it took so long. I had to do so much like looking into everything and all that, because like, good lord. She's my 5th cat, 4 of which I've had from baby. She's already worth the effort. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, especially if your cats like accept their siblings or their little adopted siblings, it makes things a lot easier. Mine don't. Like the 2 oldest kittens we have, whenever there's a new animal brought in, which luckily we won't have any because we're all booked up here. 1 toddler, 1 dog, and 4 cats. We're good. No vacancies. We're not even getting a fish. Like, it's not my son wants a little fish so bad, and my brother-in-law's grandkids, like, they have a bunch of fish that mated, so they just have like a million fish, and he's like, just take some of them. And I'm like, I literally don't have the ability to be responsible for another living thing. Like, I will die if I have to be responsible for something like that. I will forget the fish exists. It'll sit there. I'm sorry. It'll happen. So there you go. Oh man. Well, that's going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you again so much for all of your support. Thank you for hanging out with us, talking some news, for getting to talk about, you know, the movies, but we'll do it. We'll get there. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting week. Again, lots of reviews, lots of Fantastic Fest stuff, and definitely some more lists coming your way. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up here. So until next time, stay scared.
Bye.
Do the horse shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna smash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna smash your ass.